How's things? Welcome to LVD Sport. Today we're talking about one of the biggest battles in combat sports, but this one isn't taking place at the ring or the octagon. It's UFC versus boxing, Canelo Alvarez versus Turki Al-Sheikh, Dana White versus Al Haymon, the Sphere versus T-Mobile Arena, and it's all going down during Mexican Independence Day weekend in Las Vegas. But this is more than just a date on the calendar. This is a high-stakes power struggle for control of one of the biggest weekends in combat sports. Let's break it all down. Historically, Canelo Alvarez has had a control over Mexican Independence Day weekend since taking the symbolic face of boxing role from Floyd Mayweather. In 2023, he fought in September, but not on that particular weekend, giving the UFC a chance to step into the T-Mobile Arena. Dana White was so confident about UFC's future on this weekend that he claimed that the UFC would run a show on Mexican Independence Day every year from now on. But by the time he tried to book T-Mobile Arena for 2024, Al Haymon's premier boxing champions had already locked it down, a move that's typical of the PBC, booking major venues for big dates well in advance. T-Mobile Arena is co-owned by MGM Resorts and AEG, and UFC signed a deal back in 2017 to hold a minimum of 4 events a year there. However, due to various factors, they've only fulfilled this obligation 3 times so far. Dana White claims that, contractually, UFC couldn't initially move to another venue, but with the T-Mobile Arena already booked for Canelo's fight, the UFC had to make a pivot. Enter the Sphere, an ultra-modern venue owned by Madison Square Garden's parent company with no direct connection to the MGM. Interestingly, however, it was MGM CEO and chairman Bill Hornbuckle who gave the date at the Sphere to Dana White. The irony isn't lost on Dana. MGM Resorts, which has a contract with the UFC, remember, is guaranteeing the live gate for Canelo's fight at their own T-Mobile Arena. To Dana, this was a low blow, though he admitted that if he were in Al Haymon's shoes, he would have done exactly the same thing in booking the venue early. Dana White secured the Sphere for what he calls a one-time only UFC event before the promotion returns to the T-Mobile later in the year. This event, however, with a production budget nearing $20 million, is easily UFC's most ambitious show to date. Practice runs at the Sphere alone cost millions, with each session taking up to 6 hours to complete. The production involves 4 trucks and a team of Emmy, Grammy and Oscar winners, and there's even a director whose sole job is to capture the grandeur of the Sphere itself. But Dana's under immense pressure. He's called this event himself the greatest sporting event of all time, and a love letter to the country of Mexico. While the production value will be unprecedented, Mexican fans and fight fans generally are more passionate about the quality of the fights than the glitz and the glamour. Adding another layer to this story is Saudi Arabia and boxing powerhouse Turki Al-Sheikh, who is sponsoring UFC's event through his seemingly all-encompassing Riyadh season. Conveniently, Turkey's involvement comes after Canelo Alvarez and PBC rejected his overtures to host a fight in Saudi Arabia against David Benavidez, which is quite possibly the biggest fight in the sport right now. While Dana White isn't complaining about the sponsorship easing the financial burden, it's somewhat clear that Turkey's backing has personal motivations aimed at competing with Canelo. Ticket sales are a point of concern for both UFC and the Canelo fight. As of last week, Canelo's fight at T-Mobile Arena had 1,500 tickets still unsold, while the UFC event at the Sphere had over 2,000 still available. These figures have almost certainly altered by the time you hear this. Both promotions have had to drop prices by around 30%, with further reductions expected before fight night. One advantage for Canelo is MGM's long-standing practice of buying out high-priced tickets for their high rollers. BoxingScene.com reported that MGM is set to spend $1.5 million on tickets for their VIP guests. Meanwhile, the Sphere, being a Madison Square Garden property, doesn't benefit from this luxury, which could impact UFC's attendance numbers. However, the Sphere is likely to surpass Canelo's gate thanks to its larger 18,600 capacity and 24 high-end executive suites available for a hefty price. So, who's going to win this all-costs battle? Dana White's high-stakes gamble at the Sphere promises an unprecedented production and a slightly substandard card, if I'm being honest. But can it really rival the legacy and fan loyalty of Canelo Alvarez fans on Mexican Independence Day weekend against Edgar Berlanga from the fighting island of Puerto Rico? Both events are feeling the pressure, both financially and from the fans, but the true winner will be decided on the night. But one thing's for certain, as always, the mighty dollar will always have the final word. Thanks for tuning in to LVD Sport. Let me know in the comments who you think will win the battle for Vegas on the night. Dana, Turkey, the Sphere and UFC Noche, or Canelo, Al Heyman, the T-Mobile Arena and PBC. That's all from me. Till next time, thanks for listening. Keep your gloves up and your chin down. Oos.